Guys, we have an urgent breaking news coming out. Once again, the US President eyes Insurrection Act to restore order in US city. Now, the US President team is considering the Insurrection Act, an 1807 law allowing troops to restore control in violent or lawless areas. All right, so this is an update that's coming out right now. At the same time, Gavin Newsom slams the U.S. president for driving U.S. towards martial law. Alright guys, before I start, for those of you that want to send us letters or prayer requests, you can send it to me, US Santiago, or my wife Jessica Santiago at 3432 US Highway 19, number 2, Holiday, Florida 34691. And for those of you that want to help and support this channel, we do have the Cash App link and the PayPal link in the comments box and also description box. Another way to support the channel is through Patreon. $5 a month Patreon. We get you access to our live stream. We go live once a week. We talk about things that we cannot talk about on this platform. And another way to support it, hitting that thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Alright, so once again, Gavin Newsom slams Donald for driving U.S. towards martial law. We talked about this yesterday on my live stream. Many of you are not aware that I have multiple channels, so we're going to get to that one too. Alright, so let's see what's going on with this one. This information came out yesterday, but now today, you have the president team is speaking out. Alright, so there's a lot of good stuff here. The legal teams are preparing the framework so the military can support overwhelmed cities like Chicago and Portland. Now, he held back in 2020. This time, sources say he's ready to act decisively. It's not locked in yet, but insiders say they're past if and deep into how. Okay, so we're going to get to that news article, the full news article right here. Give me a second. Whoops, I forgot to fix it. I truly apologize. There we go. All right, perfect. So it says here you have the White House officials have held increasingly serious discussions in recent days about the U.S. commander invoking the Insurrection Act, a rarely used 19th century law that gives the commander-in-chief the power to deploy active duty troops inside the U.S. for law enforcement purposes. 5 people with knowledge of the talks told the news. Now, the discussions come as the U.S. commander has sought to deploy National Guard troops in several major cities, including Los Angeles, Chicago, and Portland, Oregon, saying they're needed to reduce crime and protect ICE officials from these groups. The critics have said that the U.S. commander administration is exaggerating issues in those cities. Now, you guys already know there's stuff going down in Chicago way before the U.S. commander was even the commander. The decision to invoke the act is not expected to be imminent, one senior administration official said. Were it to happen, it will be a notable escalation. The Guard is currently deployed in limited support roles since active duty members of the military are forbidden from conducting civilian law enforcement actions, such as conducting searches and making arrests. But the Insurrection Act allows the commander to deploy troops inside the U.S. for that purpose. The U.S. commander plans to deploy the National Guard have occasionally hit legal hurdles. A federal judge in Oregon on Sunday blocked the president from sending Guard members from any state to Portland. The next day, the U.S. commander said publicly that he would invoke Insurrection Act if it was necessary. If people were being taken out, and courts were holding us up, or governors or mayors were holding us up, Sure, I do that, the U.S. commander said. As of now, he said, it hasn't been needed. Now, talk inside the White House about invoking the act has embedded and flowed since the U.S. Commander-in-Chief took office again in January of 2025. Said that 5 people who include the senior administration officials, 2 people familiar with the discussions, and 2 people close to the White House. But the debate inside the administration has shifted recently from whether it makes sense to invoke the act to more deeply exploring how and when it might be invoked. Both people close to the White House said. Administration officials have drafted legal defenses and various options for invoking the act, 2 of the people said. Now it says here, but the current broad consensus among the president's aides has been to exhaust all other options before taking that step. The senior administration official and one of the people close to the White House said. The person close to the White House described the process as working its way up an escalatory ladder. Now, asked about discussions regarding invoking the Insurrection Act, the White House spokesperson Abigail Jackson said in a statement, the U.S. Commander administration is committed to restoring law and order in American cities that are plunged by violence due to the left mismanagement. And the U.S. Commander would not stand by while lawlessness attacked the federal ICE officers. Now, the administration will work to protect federal assets and officers while making the sleeping giant cities safe again. And that's the sad part. That is the sad part, is that, you got ICE agents, law enforcement. I mean, stuff is happening to them. There's videos, videos all over the place. You got these groups going after them. And, the gov and the mayor, their job is to protect law enforcement, to protect many. But they have failed to do that. It's sad. It's sad. Because, again, they just don't like the Donald. So they're just going to allow these groups to punish the law enforcement. It's just really sad. The act gives the commander broad discretion regarding its invocation. It can be invoked at the request of a state or when the commander determines that conditions like unlawful obstructions, rebellion, or insurrection have made it difficult to enforce the law. During the civil rights era, 3 commanders, Dwight Eisenhower, John F. Kennedy, and Lyndon B. Johnson, used the act to protect activists or enforce court orders mandating desegregation. It was last used at the request of California governor during the 1992 Los Angeles riot. They also, I think, invoked the martial law, if I'm not mistaken. And that's what Gavin is sounding the alarm. He's saying that martial law could be the next thing. The governor of Oregon and Illinois both opposed the sending of troops to their states. There are no lawlessness. And authorities there are not defying court orders. The White House expects that any potential invocation of the act will be met with swift legal challenges and ultimately land at the Supreme Court. One thing I'll tell you guys, we are seeing something that we have never seen. We are definitely seeing a lot of military out there in multiple cities across America. And now we're about to witness the U.S. commander invoke the Insurrection Act. This could possibly lead to martial law. 2026. Last month, a federal judge ruled that the White House deployment of active duty troops to Los Angeles in June was illegal under the Posey Commodities Act, a 19th century law that prevents the military from being used as police. After that decision, administration officials revived discussion, and eternal legal analysts said, around invoking the Insurrection Act, according to two of the people familiar with the discussions and one person close to the White House said. But the U.S. commander was cautioned that doing so under current circumstances might not hold up in the Supreme Court, which will break his series of victories there, these people said, and the idea was tabled for a time. A White House official declined to discuss specific liberations, but said that the president's legal team is focused on charting a legal pathway that can withstand judicial scrutiny. Ultimately, it's the president's vision and that the president's policies that he got elected to implement that the attorneys are just working hard to defend. We're working hard to look at the law and say, how do we achieve the president's vision? Once again, the U.S. commander considered invoking the act in his first term during the, you guys already know what happened in 2020, Georgie, and he declined despite the urging of some allies and later regretted that decision. According to the senior administration official, he is viewing his current decision through that lens, the senior administration official said. One of the U.S. Commander Administration Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller, has been a leading and long-time prominent of invoking the Insurrection Act. Miller has been at the center of discussions on the issue since the U.S. commander took office, said that 5 sources plus another person familiar with the discussion. Administration officials have discussed invoking the act if local law enforcement cannot or will not protect ICE and federal law enforcement agents. One of the people familiar with the discussion said. But one concern that some officials have raised is that invoking the act could eventually lead to pitting active duty U.S. troops against other Americans. Wow. The U.S. commander has stepped up his use of the word insurrection to describe developments in Portland and Chicago in recent days. On Monday, he said that the pushback on ICE agents' attempts to carry out immigration enforcement operation in both cities and criminal insurrection. It says here, the U.S. commander and Miller have described the protester against ICE operation in Chicago and Portland as participating in organized lawlessness against the federal gov. They're saying they're going to carry out insurrection against the federal gov by using force, obstructive force, to keep ICE officers from going out and conducting cuffs, Miller told reporters on Monday. This is an all-out campaign of insurrection against the sovereignty of the U.S. because the left and those who are committing lawlessness in this land do not believe in legitimacy of sovereign territory of the U.S. Man, we are definitely seeing some stuff happening to our beloved sleeping giant. Now, once again, Gavin slams the U.S. commander for driving U.S. towards martial law. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing here, guys. I'm just going to show you some of this stuff here. Give me a second. Let me just fix it so you guys have a better view. Please share, like, subscribe. Thank you again for your support. California Governor Mr. Gavin tore into the U.S. commander over a fast-moving push to deploy military forces into the Blue Run cities, calling the move a breathtaking abuse of law and power and warning that America is on the brink of martial law. In a post on X, Newsom urged Americans not to be silent, framing the moment as a constitutional stress test and political power play that could spill into the streets if the left unchecked. Wow. What are your thoughts on this, guys? Leave comments down below. He wrote the following. This is a breathtaking abuse of law and power by the U.S. commander of the U.S. The sleeping giant is on the brink of martial law. Do not be silenced. Wow. Okay. So the rest of the story is basically talking about Chicago, National Guards. We already know that. But Gavin is really sounding the alarm. What are your thoughts on this, guys? Now, give me 1 second here. Five hundred National Guard members have arrived in the Chicago area and are mobilized for an initial period of 60 days. NBC is putting out that information. It's not 400 National Guard, it's 500 National Guards. That's a big number. He's the governor. He's the governor of Chicago. I have to say to the U.S. commander, if you come for my people, you're going to have to come through me. Dude, oh my goodness. What's my tea? He's not going after, he's not going after your people, dude. Oh my God. That dude got the wrong message. I don't know. He got the wrong message. Give me 1 second here, guys. Hold on. The U.S. commander said even the, what is that? One of the most powerful U.S. family have a, what, black sheep? Okay, so this is O'Donnell calling out the gov of Chicago. I'm just gonna skip that. It's all political stuff. Okay, so this is all the information here, guys. Yeah, this is all the information. So what are your thoughts? Leave comments down below. And yeah, so that's a very important update. Insurrection Act, and you have martial law name that is being thrown in this stuff here. So I do believe we're about to see something big pretty soon, possibly, who knows, a civil war. I mean, this thing could hit the fan. We could see 2026 could transform the entire sleeping giant. This is a battle between the two sides, the blue and the red. We're supposed to be united, not divided. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Till next time later. Peace.